Hi, this is Troxel. In this tutorial, we're going to kind of combine some of our old tutorials to make this tutorial, and we're actually going to be importing a bunch of images that have been created from a subtitle creator, and these images then need to have the match aspect done to them, need to be resized back to their original location, which is a tutorial that we've done in the past. And to import the information, we're going to import these from an XML file, which we have just done not too long ago. And so we are going to modify the XML import and add in the logo resize and match aspect tools. And then we're going to actually add a little positioning routine to get it into the correct position. And then we're going to import these into a new project. So let's see what it takes to do this. The first thing I want to look at is the XML file that we have been using to import in the previous example. So for example, we had a media, which had a video inside of it, which had a video format inside of it, and it had each of these individual pieces. Let's go down into track, which had a clip item, and then each one of the pieces of information had a header piece, the piece of information, and then the closing piece. So it had name, and then this was the name, and then it had /name, start, 0, /start, and so that's the type of format that we were looking at previously. So let's look at the format of the XML file we're going to use today. In this particular case, we're interested mainly in this events section, and under events, we have an event which has this piece of information, this piece of information, and this piece of information. Then inside of event, we have something called graphic, which also has several pieces of information. And then it also has, separately, inside the graphic, is the actual name of the image. So previously we were only looking at how to get this piece of information. Now we need to figure out how to get these pieces of information as well. So let's look at the script to do this. These are all of the base variables that we had in our previous XML import, so I just left them all there. We may not use them all, but I just left them all there for simplicity's sake. Then we have our myVegas equals Vegas. Then we open the file dialog, and we're looking specifically for XML files. We also went ahead and threw the all files option in here. This time we set the multi-select equal to false. And the other one we had it set to true. So this one we had it set to false because we only want to select one file. Then the title for our dialog is to select the file to import, and then I set the initial directory to this particular location on my hard drive. Like I said here, change this to wherever you want it to look by default. And then I open the file dialog. If they clicked on OK, then we process the file names. To process the file names, the first thing I need is a new video track. So I created a new video track called Subtitles. And then we added this new video track to Vegas. Now I set it in the 0 position, which means it's going to be on top. Even though I only have a single file name, this was the code that we had in the previous import XML, so I just went ahead and did it for each file in file names. Technically, I didn't need to do a for each because there's only going to be one file name there. But this way, if we wanted to go back and change this to true, then it could go in and process multiple files. The base start position, technically we're not using. I could get rid of this line. It was just in there for the previous one. It's not hurting anything. So I just left it there. And then we're going to process the import file with the file name, and then we're going to update the Vegas UI. So let's see what happens when we process the file. Here's our process routine for passing it the file name, the first thing I want to do is get the base path of the file. I'm assuming that the XML file and all the images are in the same folder, so I want to get the directory name from the file, and then I want to add the directory separator character. So this will give me the path to where the file is located. Next thing I'm going to do is open the XML document by getting a new XML document and then do a doc.load, and I'm opening my file. Then we're going to get the root from the doc.document element, and then for each child in root, I'm looking for events. So as soon as I find events, then I'm going to go through each child, which I called child 2, in child, and I'm looking for event. So if we go back and look at our file here, first thing I'm looking for is this. As soon as I find this, then I'm going to look for all children inside of events, and I'm looking for event. So as soon as I find event, then I want to process all of this information for that one event. So to process that information, I just called another routine called process clip item. Now let's look at the process clip item. Here is our process clip item, and I'm passing it that clip item. So there are some things I'm going to find, which is first of all is a string, which is the start time code, and inside event you will see I have an in.tc and an out.tc. So I want to get those two pieces of information from event. Clip item is my event, because if we look up here, if child.2.name equal event, then I'm going to process child.2. So clip item and the in.tc and the out.tc are attributes. So I'm going to do a clip item.get attribute, and I'm looking for in.tc. And then I'm going to do a clip item.get attribute, and it's called out.tc. So I'll set my start.tc and my in.tc to those two attributes. Then I've created a bunch of variables: width, height, x, and y, and file path. If we go back and look here, I have a width, a height, an x, and a y, and a file name. So those are the pieces of information I'm wanting to get from inside graphic. So I've just set up my variables here to hold that information, and then I need to get that information. So I'm going to go for each child in clip item, and I'm looking specifically for the one that says graphic. So we're looking for this child right here. Once again, there's only one child. We could have processed this a different way. It's just easier to go through and look for all children and look for the one called graphic, just in case the format should change or there's another category added in here. So first of all is the file path. So I'm going to use my base path that I created above, which is the entire subdirectory up to where my XML file is, and then I'm going to get the child.innerText. That's the same way we were doing it in the previous tutorial, and so this will give me the file name that is right here. Then the rest of these, once again, are attributes. So I need to get them using the get attributes. So for my width, I'm going to convert this to an integer. So convert dot to integer 32, and then I'm going to do child.get attribute, and I'm getting the width. And then same thing with the height, convert to an integer, child.attribute height. And then the same thing with the x and the y. Convert to an integer the x value, convert to an integer the y value. Then I'm going to have a new video event called vEvent in this case. And I'm going to get that from adding the clip to the timeline. To add the clip to the timeline, what it needs to know is the file path, the starting time code, and the ending time code. Remember, these are both strings. And then after that event gets added to the timeline, I want to adjust the event size and position. So I will pass that new event to this second routine, and also pass the width, height, and X and Y to that new routine. So let's look at the add clip to timeline first. This is basically the same as the previous one from the other XML import, but we will look at that here. We're passing in a string, which is a file name, a string, which is the start frame, and a string, which is the end frame. So to get this media, first of all, I need a new media from that file name. Then where are we going to put it? We need a timecode called start timecode, and I'm going to get that from timecode.fromString and the start frame that we passed to the routine. And then I need a timecode, which is the length of the event. I don't want the ending of the event, I want the length of the event. So I need to take the timecode.fromString and the end frame, and then I'm going to subtract the starting timecode. So that will give me the actual length. It will be the end minus the start. Now let's get the stream for the media stream, and we get that from media.strings.getItem by media type, and we want the video stream, and we want the first one, which is number 0. Then we want a new video event, which is vEvent, which is a new video event, and we are going from the start timecode, and we are making it this long. This is the length timecode. Then we will add this new event to the video track that we created at the very beginning. Then we create a new take from the stream, and then we are adding this take to the video event. And now that the video event has been created, we are going to return this video event, which up here, this is the video event that this has received back from the add clip to timeline, and the same video event that will be passed to the adjust event size position. And here's the event adjust size position, which gets past the video event, the width, the height, the X, and the Y. We're calling match aspect on the video event, and that has been discussed in a previous tutorial, so I'm going to let you go back and look at that tutorial. You can find the link in the description. And then we are going to restore the size of the video event. That also has been discussed in that same previous tutorial. So these two pieces right here I'm not going to fully explain. Just know that the routine restore size is here. This is the full routine for that. And then the match aspect is here. This is the full routine for that. And then it had to get the active media stream, the match output aspect. All of this is used as part of the resize and the match aspect. Then we need to get the video motion keyframe, which I've called KF. We get that from the video event.videomotion.keyframe, and we want the first keyframe, which is number 0. And then we're going to position the image. Since we just added the image, we know there's only one keyframe. So we're going to position the image. We're going to pass it that keyframe, and then a float value for the X, and a float value for the Y. This is where we want it to appear on the screen. So here's our position image routine, receiving the keyframe, the float X position, and the float Y position. First thing I'm going to get is the screen width, which is myvegas.project.video.width, and the screen height, which is myvegas.project.video.height. Both of those are also floats. We're working in floats now. Now the difference in position in the X position is the screen width divided by 2 minus the X position, which is the position that we passed to the routine, minus the keyframe.center.x. The Y difference will be the height divided by 2 minus the Y position minus the keyframe.center.y. And this will tell us how far off are we from where it really should be. So our offset is going to be a video motion vortex, which requires an X and a Y. So we create a new video motion vortex with the X difference and the Y difference. And then we're going to move this keyframe using the move by and this offset, and that will move it into the correct position. So let's see how this works. First of all, we need to make sure our properties is set correctly. In this case, let's test it with a 720 by 576 project. And when we run the script, let's use the short one here, which only has 4 entries in it. And we can see here is our entries, for 3 of the 4 entries. And you can see that it is down low and centered on the screen, so it does appear to be positioned correctly. If we do a file new and do 720 by 480, import again, and we can see that the position is now even lower on the screen since our screen is shorter and appears to be positioned correctly. If we just do a file new and use our 1920 by 1080, you can see that it is up in the upper left hand corner instead of being centered in the screen, because this is the position that the file told it to be. It's in position X equals 180, Y equals 356, and that's based on a video format of 576i, which means it's SD, and our screen is now HD, and it's 576 scan lines. So that's the reason why initially we did a file new 720 by 576. Now let's try the import with the big file. And here it is, and we can see we've got many items on the timeline now. And if we scroll in, we can go in and look at any of these and see that they are all appear to be positioned correctly based on our screen size. And then we could go in and resize any of them as needed, change their positions if need be, and do whatever else needs to be done. So this lets us import the subtitles onto the screen as individual images. And now the next question was, can I then change the position of them, export them, and then create an updated XML file? And so we'll look and see what it takes to do that, and we'll see you in the next tutorial. And like, subscribe, and let me know what you'd like to see. Give me any comments you like, and we'll see you next time. Please sign up at www.jettv.com and subscribe on YouTube to get further notifications on when new videos are presented.